We're live.
We're live.
We're live. We look like we're literally on two different sides of the universe here.
And you're just in the next room, my love.
I know. It's just like we're a mirror image or something. I don't know. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just going to sit here for a second before we get going and see if anybody joins us today. But we are Rose Tarot Astrology, and my name is Jennifer Rose, and that is Mel Rose, my wife, up there, up there. And we're going to hang out for a second, like I said, and see if anyone joins us. Otherwise, we're going to talk a little bit about some astrology that's happened over the weekend, some astrology happening next week, mainly a Mars focus. And then we will do some tarot card readings and we'll do some really good discussion here today. Unfortunately, we're going to be focusing on, unfortunately, we're going to be focusing on, like war and thinking about that in terms of what Mars is doing right now, and I think some Saturn aspects as well. So
Yeah.
that's what we'll be doing.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, I've been talking long enough now, so I'm just going to go ahead and formally get started. Okay, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Hello, welcome back to Rose Tarot and Astrology. My name is Jennifer Rose, and above me is my sweet wife, Mel Rose. We are here today to talk to you about the week ahead in astrology. In particular, we're going to kind of geek out on the Mars and Virgo aspect and Mars aspects, a few Saturn aspects. And then Mel will be back again tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time to give you a little bit more information for the week. And she'll go back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday this week, but we are going to have some programming changes. So be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell just in case uh, that your favorite show has changed. And we will definitely update everything here as we go through, some growth patterns. So welcome. I'm going to hand this over to Mel right now so
Hello,
we can.
everybody. Thank you, Jennifer. Greetings, fellow Earthlings. Welcome back to Rose Tarot and Astrology. I am your host, Mel Rose. This is my beautiful wife, Jennifer Rose, uh, who is a talented medium, psychic, and tarot card reader, as well as a learning astrologer. And part of the reason that we're going to focus on just a couple of things today is that next week is really packed full with astrology. So we're going to address Monday and Tuesday on Monday, and then Wednesday and Thursday on Wednesday, because we're just going to have to take this a little bit at a time, or it's going to be a little too much to take in. But let's talk about the general vibe at first. Coming into the next week, this week has been really challenging. And I don't know if you're watching the news, but we are watching the news, and the conversation primarily is that, the United States is engaged in conflict with Iran on behalf of Israel right now. It's disappointing news. It's sad news. Nobody here really likes to go to war, I don't think. So um, it seems like you've got a lot of.
Yes, I'm trying to figure that out. I don't know if
Okay.
it's something from above.
Hmm. Okay, so
Wow, it might be our connection.
okay. Well, I'm just gonna have to go kind of slowly because
Okay.
that echo really, really distracts me. Uh, oh, it went away. Whatever you did, now I can't hear you.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right.
Perfect. Thank you so much for fixing that.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So now we're
Okay.
talking about astrology and Iran.
Yes, yes. Well, coming into this week, we have some very challenging astrology. And part of that is that just this week, Mars finally, after several months in Leo, moved out of Leo and on into Virgo. And Mars in Virgo, um, moves kind of quickly. That's a Mars kind of Mercury combination. And Mars in Virgo wants to be precise. It's very meticulous. It's interested in efficiency. And we're interested in sort of streamlining our processes, refining our processes, and also, like paying attention to our routines, like really being active about our routines and really sort of focusing in on making sure we have our stuff in order, like our documents in order, that kind of stuff. And so Mars in Virgo has been in Virgo all week. It's been having all these conversations newly with planets as it entered a whole new sign. And today, particularly, we have a couple of challenges. One of them being that Mars is sextile to Jupiter. That's the really good news today, because Mars in a sextile to Jupiter says that the actions we take might actually reap us greater rewards. Okay, we just have to make sure our actions are in the direction of our highest hopes for ourselves. We're using our powers for good, and we're taking action to try to make things better. So with that cooperative vibration with Jupiter, our actions can have a much broader impact. But saying that, our actions can have a much broader impact. They get bigger, right? Mars is also in a conversation with Pluto today, where it's not opposite anymore, but it's kind of close to opposite. So it's a little bit out of the line of vision, and there's an adjustment that has to be made. And so our actions kind of have to adjust to Pluto, which is the stuff that's coming up for us, the difficult things that we're feeling and noticing, the things that are being turned over and upside down and inside out before our very eyes. It can be very challenging, and our actions have to be somehow adjusted today to acknowledge that and to address it in some sort of way. So with that said, there's one more challenging aspect on the books today, and that is the Sun is squaring Saturn. The Sun is in Cancer now, and Saturn is in Aries. So this is a hot water kind of vibration. They're both in cardinal signs, and they're kind of, it's kind of a thing where especially in your work, social, or civic life, okay, your outward facing life, you come up against a boundary or a limitation. You don't know how you're going to move forward for a moment. You got to figure it out. Okay. So with that need for our actions to adjust to like the serious things that are happening, or the stuff that's coming up for us because of the serious things that are happening, I just want to invite us all to be very careful with ourselves, to move slowly, to not think that we have to make abrupt changes to our routine today. In fact, where we see the limitations, we just have to stop and give ourselves a beat before we try to push through. Okay, you gotta slow down. Mars in Virgo is a speedy, quick kind of vibration. It wants to make everything efficient, and you can wind up telling yourself like, oh, I'll just do it like this, and that will make all of this so much easier. But what you might wind up doing is making more work for yourself because you thought something would work more efficiently that actually did not. So that's what I have to say about today. And going into the next week, we have this bit of a challenging vibration where we have to thread this needle. Oh, that's good. I dropped my book, but then I opened it right back up to the right page. So that's the vibe for today. It is challenging. It's a little bit of a hump to get over. And we have more challenging vibrations coming up on Monday and Tuesday, and we're going to talk about those on Monday and Tuesday. It's enough to say to slow down, to follow through, to take care of yourself, to focus on doing the things that you said you would do, but not to your detriment, not in a way that's going to hurt you or cause you to have to do more work down the road. Okay.
Right. So for instance, we're in Kansas City, Missouri, and it's already like probably 85 degrees. It was 80 degrees at 7:00 this morning. We're having a bit of a summer solstice heat wave. Imagine that. And so if Sunday is your normal day that you mow your lawn or you're doing some outside activities or even just doing stuff in your house, getting that to-do list together, just be careful and carefully plan out how you're going to carry that out and make sure, that you have what you need with you. And,
Mhm.
uh, yeah, I just think, I feel like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I feel like,
Well, let me remind us that the sun is newly in Cancer. So it's really a little bit about carrying what you need on your back, right? If you're going to go outside and enjoy that summer sun and that heat, maybe go play in the water, maybe go play in the shade in the park or something, make sure you have the stuff that you need. Make sure you've got your sunscreen and your here in Missouri, we need bug repellent, and make sure you're wearing protective clothing and the right kind of shoes for the activity that you're doing. Self-care is really the emphasis here, and self-care, because we want to be able to take care of the people that we're with as well.
yeah. So you said that the sun is squaring Saturn. That's today.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Hot water. So yeah, I mean, that really kind of goes with so I guess it was last night that we found out the United States went ahead and bombed 3 nuclear sites in Iran. And then this morning I was kind of looking into it, and it seems like Iran said that it's a red line situation now. So that seems like
Mhm.
really hot water to me. It seems like we might be in a lot of hot water.
Mhm.
But there's
Yes.
something about this Mars and Virgo energy that tells me that maybe this is a well thought out, well planned kind of hot water situation, and maybe that's exactly what we wanted from the situation for some reason. Of course, we
Mhm.
will never know. Right now, it's really just kind of a fluid situation, and we all knew that this could or couldn't happen with our Gemini sun president. Is he Gemini?
Yeah, he
Okay,
is.
yeah.
I want to say it does seem a little pre-thought out. I was saying earlier that like perhaps we had an agreement that when things reach a certain threshold with Iran, we would step in. And so I think that, some pressure came down to act on an agreement that existed previously. So that's kind of going to war, at a time when we said we would, if this happens and that happens.
Right. Let's see here. Yeah, I think you and I talked about that, and it really seems like it could be really as simple as Bibi Netanyahu making a phone call to Donald Trump, and so we heard, dis, some disagreement in the information concerning whether or not Iran did have the capability or was stockpiling things to, build a bomb or whatever the hell it is that we're making.
Mhm.
And Tulsi Gabbard said, like, nah. And Trump's like, she's wrong. Who said that? It was like, oh, wait a minute. If it wasn't Tulsi Gabbard, if it was somebody that he, like respected or thought highly more intelligent of, this is our national security person. And he
He thought
wasn't
she could
taking
get that job
her
and, like,
right. So it seems to
do
me
it.
that someone else is in his ear. Like, we know how impressionable um, all of us can be in, but we know how impressionable Donald Trump is, and uh, you know he wants to show himself to be a comrade with these other, big narcissistic, king wannabes. And he's got to be able to play hardball with them, right? That's what he thinks America elected him for. So now he's playing hardball, and I really believe that Netanyahu just got in his ear and said something. And like, when more than one person does that or says the same thing, if they all agree, then he's going to go for it. But I
Mhm.
just want to say I have a lot of hope that with this Virgo aspect, that there was a lot of care put into this, a lot of care and consideration, a lot of planning, and not just on Netanyahu's side. Like, we knew that they were going to manipulate the situation, and the United States is manipulating Israel to also we've been having them fight wars for us now for a while. So this just seems like something that was in the works in a few different ways. And then, I'm just kind of hoping that there is really a plan, like a solid plan of action going forward in what we're going to do, and how on earth it is that we will need to respond as a country if Iran decides to bomb us. Like, I don't even know the capabilities there. I don't pretend to understand if they would to have that capability. But can they ally with another country that would like to see that happen? I mean, certainly. And I'm not trying to play, negative Nancy here, but I mean, we're talking about war. And
Well, what I hate to see is that it seems like there's a part of this that looks a little bit like theatrics, and I don't like the idea of people, being killed because of theatrics. It looks to me a little bit like, because Trump really broadcast that move. He gave them days.
yes,
like we knew in the news what they were going to target.
Right.
So
yeah. And I mean,
it feels like, get your stuff out of there. Everybody get out of there. Hey, we're coming. I'm going to give you some time, Hi, Skylar Buchanan.
Hi, Skylar. Yeah. I mean, so there's that. Yeah. So it feels like a lot.
Yeah.
Are you going to start talking about Mars and Virgo now? Because I think I have to say is about Mars and Virgo. But should we draw a card? Do you have any grounding ideas for what to do with this challenging hot water kind of day?
Yes, absolutely. Please, let's draw a card and let's ask the cards, how can we stay grounded? How can we stay sort of plugged into our own source?
Right. We have to take care of our own shit. We have to deal with our to-do lists in our house. That's exactly what Cancer Sun wants us to do. As a matter of fact, that's what Saturn wants us to do too. And like figure out ways of saving our resources, saving our bodies. Like today, I'm not going to go for a walk because it's super humid, it's super hot, and I found out the other day when I did that my body doesn't like that. So I think one thing that we can do is just kind of stay home and worry about ourselves and not about everything else that's going on out in the big world, the things that we can't control. Like focus on the things that we can control, right? Like,
focus on the things that you can control today, for sure. Definitely. And, really take stock of your personal resources, take stock of what you have and like have gratitude for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we look to 28. That's nice, Skylar. I feel 28. Okay, so so that 4 of coins. So just take care of yourself. Stay home if you can. Stay cool, Fonzies. For me today, I'll be figuring out my bills, what's coming in, what's going out. And I will be staying at home in my nice, cool, air-conditioned home. And I'm going to prioritize what I'm eating today and make sure that I have good food early in the day and that I chill out in the hottest parts of the afternoon, because even though I'm in the house, it still affects me. The energy will still affect you, even if you're not, outside in it. So, and I'll probably just be puttering around the house, cleaning up, tidying up, getting those nooks and crannies and trying to figure out better lighting for our videos. Cancer shit.
This is the time of year for the siesta too. You get to the middle of the day and it's too hot to really do anything. And so if you want to take a little rest and just chill out in the shade or in the air conditioning, make sure you get yourself some water, make sure you nourish yourself. That's the name of the game right now.
Right.
Yeah. Take care of your needs first.
Yeah. And that's the way you ground yourself. So if you went out to the lake yesterday, it might be today that you chill out because you were out in the sun. It was hot. Maybe you didn't eat well. Maybe you drank a little bit too much. Today is the day to hydrate, to count your money to see if you have any left from all that fun. And just to kind of get situated for the next bit of fun that might be next week. I mean, this is vacation time for a lot of people, but staying in today is probably a really good idea, especially if you've been really running back and forth a lot this week.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of an element to this too of just lay low, right? Like, if we've been out celebrating, or even if we haven't, but we're feeling a little stressed out about our resources because life is what it is right now, then we want to give ourselves some opportunities to just kind of hang out and not spend money and not have to go get stuff or have stuff delivered to our houses. Like, maybe you got a video game that you like to play and you've got a freezer full of pizza rolls. Maybe just sit around at home and do that today.
Yeah,
It's a good way to face challenging days, to lay low, to not really give the universe reasons to mess with you.
exactly. Exactly. Okay. So moving on to whatever you've got going on next, Mel.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about
Well,
today.
so we were talking about
Mhm.
today. It has been a challenging vibe. We talked about Mars and Virgo, and these conversations that Mars is having that allow our actions to have more effect than they do. So we need to pay attention to that, right? Uh, because our actions are going to also be in response to some of the hard things that we're dealing with. So how do we stay grounded? That's the Four of Pentacles. That's what we've addressed so far. This Monday and Tuesday, we're going to have some challenging stuff coming up with Pluto, with Chiron, with Neptune. So those are bigger themes, and we're going to talk about them. But just suffice it to say, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, pretty challenging. I would say the same advice applies. Lay low, save your resources, take care of yourself. Okay. And then coming into Wednesday, things are going to really shift. So, Wednesday is the new moon in Cancer. And when the new moon happens, what we have is we have the sun and the moon, and they're in the same place in the sky from our perspective. And on that day, Jupiter is also there with them. They're all sort of combined under pressure there in the sky. So, Jupiter is good fortune, it's expansion. Jupiter in Cancer is extremely lucky. It's very good energy for sort of like making it rain, the abundance that you want in your life. And with that happening at the new moon, with all of the three of those planets sort of combined and under pressure, that's a very good fortune place for us to make a start on something. Okay, it's a launching point. It's full speed ahead on your hopes and dreams. Okay, have faith in yourself and make some moves, my friends, as we come out of that new moon on Wednesday in Cancer. So that's a very good vibe. And coming in the days after that, there is a lot more positive energy, and we'll go ahead and talk about those. But I'd like to go ahead and draw a card as well for the new moon in Cancer.
Okay. So are you drawing or me? You said you want me to draw. So here's a card for new moon in Cancer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is a really good jumping off point. Mel and we're always thinking creatively. That's why our schedule here lately has been a little up in the air, I guess you could say. We are, um, the dynamics of our audience is changing, so therefore we have to change with that. Um, and Mel had a little tooth issue that we had to deal with, and that was a painful situation, and we just had to do our best. So we're all just out there doing our best, and we really appreciate you tuning in here. And thank you, Skylar, so much for subscribing. And we've been on YouTube for like what, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So a
2020.
card for the new moon in Cancer, the Knight of Cups. The
Oh, I like
Knight of Cups.
it.
Yeah. I think the Knight of Cups really invites us to I don't know, to go on that adventure, like to um use everything that you've gathered, like whatever your intuition is telling you, like, oh, I have to do this thing, I got to get this thing done. If it's been there, then this is the time to act on that. Okay. And trust your gut when it's telling
Yeah.
you to do these things. What do you have to say about that
Yeah.
card?
With the sun in Cancer, I'm seeing follow your heart. Really, the Knight of Cups is carrying a single cup, and it looks to me like the Ace of Cups. It could very well be the same cup.
Right.
So, it's really about your heart. It's like your bottomless cup full of love and joy and enthusiasm that you have to give. There's no limit on that you can keep coming up with. And we pulled another card because there's a horse on that card. We want to know where we're following our heart to. It looks like we're following our heart to justice.
Yes. We are balancing out our emotions. We're figuring out what's intuition and what's trauma. We're figuring out what's real and what's false. And it's coming to us. I mean, it's really kind of being handed to us right now. All right. And it's also like, oh, I wish that I could have said exactly what I thought as soon as I turned over that card, because that was the answer. But go ahead. I'm going to mute my microphone right now if you want to interpret that a little bit more, and I'll see if I can find it.
Okay. So yes, we're following our hearts toward justice. This is not just on an individual level. Okay. That new moon, it really is a time for personal reckoning and a personal sort of coming back into yourself, getting grounded, getting centered, plugging into your source, which is the earth, and really making a new start. Like, I realize where I am and what I have, and this is what I would like to do next. So, that we're being guided to follow our heart toward justice, I think, is more of a collective thing. Justice on the collective level seems to be a little bit short right now. It seems like we have a lot of probably judges and lawyers hard at work trying to help people right now. And there are a lot of people who have been sort of out in the streets protesting, in the media protesting. We want to do what we can to show support to people who are really lacking access to justice at this time. So, what is it that you think that you can do that shows not just that you care for yourself, because that was the other card, right? But that you care about justice, which means you care about, the equality of everyone, that you care about equity for all people. That's what I'm
Yeah, I also, with a new moon in Cancer and starting something new, maybe it is that we're going to start, talking about our feelings and kind of leveling out the playing field. In my experience with Cancer sun people and rising people, I guess, there are whole ass moments of my life where they have an expectation that you figure out what it is that they want. And if you don't intuitively figure that out, because they know that you're intuitive, right? So there's like this expectation. It's almost like when I speak just a little bit of Spanish at a Mexican restaurant, they just, like they talk to you and I'm like, oh no, I just, poquito español, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm like, oh no, I'm not, I don't even know what you said. Like I get,
you freak out.
What it feels like. But what was I saying as far as that trait in you? I got lost there.
The Cancerian people sometimes expect you to know how they're feeling and what they want. And that's true. We are very intuitive people. We're very emotionally broadcasting people. We read other people's emotional broadcasts, and we expect people to be as sensitive as others are, or as we are. And we're not, we're not always right about that. And we're also not always as sensitive as we think we are.
I do think this is just about bringing balance to, how you speak even, or how you talk about your emotions, like maybe this is, like some new way forward, just a little bit more balance and you know, speaking as opposed to not, like actually using your voice and as opposed to not doing so. And as
Yeah.
far as
Yeah.
like the big shift, the new moon in Cancer, I mean, this is a really great time to also, if there's something emotional that you need to get off of your chest, like it's time for you to make an appointment with your therapist or go talk to your bestie or open up your best journal
Mhm.
and talk about it. Like sometimes just evening out something is just first of all taking ownership of
Yeah.
what your role in that situation was and who you were. So this if this is something back from childhood, you say, you know what, I was a kid, and that should really kind of like push a lot of that down because
Yeah.
there's no responsibility, there. And just give yourself that
Yes.
grace. And sometimes it's just acknowledging, like, yeah, there was not anything I could do about that. And just closing the book
Mhm.
on that, so you can move forward because there's this great opportunity right now to really make it, to really do something big, your hopes and dreams right now.
Yeah.
If you're able to pour into it, if you can, just push as much as you possibly can into your hopes and dreams while also nurturing
Mhm.
yourself and taking care of yourself and healing and thinking of art and all the creative ways and forms, like that is the time now. That's a great way to, find some justice and in the systems, music, art. It's a form of rebellion. It's a form of revolution. And so pouring your emotions, your intuition, your feelings about how things have been going is a really great way to level out the playing field. If you feel like you're no longer in control, it's a great way to get in control of something, to have control of something.
Remember that Saturn is basically, essentially, but not completely, conjuncting Neptune at the beginning of Aries right now. So, with Neptune in Aries, there's this element of spiritual warfare, spiritual initiative, like really having a strong sense of what our morality is, what our sense of spiritual connection to everybody in the world is. And then with Saturn right there, it's sort of like we're really serious about this. This is material for us, okay? It's not just about feeling good, it's about what's practical. And what is practical is not to be destroying infrastructure and lives and tearing up families. When I see things happening like us getting involved in that conflict in Iran, us being involved in all of these conflicts, um, even the ones that we should be involved in, what I see unfortunately is like future terrorism being being birthed. I really fear, unfortunately, that when we go in and we bomb places, we wind up getting a repercussion out of that. um, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So that's one of the things that makes me afraid and makes me concerned about just going to war and being so bold about taking out people's infrastructure, whatever that infrastructure may be for. And I'm always reminded, like, okay, I get the information that the news gives me, but I know, and I think we all kind of know that the news that you get is the news that, like, the world wants you to see, the people in leadership want you to see. We might get lucky and get some news that they didn't want us to see, but a lot of the time it's spin, and it's like, this is what happened and this is the story that we know, because we don't know the whole story.
Yes, the list of trusted, reputable news sources should be a hell of a lot longer than it is if you do your correct data research, but it's not very long. Okay. So, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
while we're talking about it, I we found out last night about the bombing, and it was just kind of like a crater in my brain, in my chest, in my heart. Like I don't even know. We just know what war is, and it means death, and it means all of what Mel was talking about, the infrastructure. And I was so overwhelmed in the moment. We watch a lot of YouTube. I just started playing like songs that I found were peaceful. And I have 4 astrology placements, the same as John Lennon, and John Lennon has always been one of my mom's favorite humans in the universe and musicians, and I like John Lennon, even though I like to say that I don't. I love John Lennon. And so we started playing, Give Peace a Chance and What Is It, War Is Over. We played all sorts of, we played Revolution by the Beatles. We started just playing
We played
Instant Karma, Gonna Get You. Yeah, you should listen to Instant Karma. If you know it, then you know. But if you don't, then look up Instant Karma and listen to that one and think and manifest. But so yeah, there's got to be some balance here, and whatever it is that you need, whatever it is that is the justice that you're seeking in your life, like, oh yay, you finally did that thing, or you pushed that thing forward, or this is like big brave things, and it's more than that. It's about pushing yourself into it. It's more than just sparking it off. It's actually rolling with it. It's actually going with it. It's still going the course even if you fall off. It's still just kind of slow and steady, is going to give you that balance. And my thing is for this year is temperance. 2025 is my year of temperance. I've got to figure it out. And am I perfect about it? No. I swing from one way to the other with something. And so it's about, yeah, right. It's about, oh, my watery Pisces moon is what that feels like for sure.
Tide goes in, tide comes out. You can't explain it.
Wow. It really feels like I'm taking on a lot of water sometimes in all of the ways. But this is really a point where we have a little bit more control and we have a little bit more push, even when we don't think that we do. And I'm not saying bootstrap it. I'm just saying our hopes and dreams, those are the things that we can pour ourselves into right now, that we can find a grounding experience. Okay. Even if you never go to that protest with that sign or that picture, or you never show it to anybody, it's still a form of grounding. It's still a method of keeping you in this place right here now, and that's going to be really vital, and not watching the news.
And not watching the news. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Have we talked about Mars and Virgo enough? I have a lot to say about Mars and Virgo.
I think it's a whole theme. So let's talk a little bit about Mars and Virgo more. Although we were more on a new moon in Cancer.
Oh yeah. Well, I didn't know if the tarot reading was to end that and start something new. So.
Oh yeah, no, we can go back to Mars and Virgo because this really is an important theme that's going on right now. Mars freshly in Virgo, after being so long in Leo, just to feel that change can feel really abrupt, because we go out of a fire sign and into an earth sign. So it's almost like taking a hot poker and putting it in the earth, right? It just douses the flame. So putting it to ground, putting things to the ground, and part of that, Virgo is earth, but it's also the kind of earth that disperses. It's the kind of earth that spreads. It's sand. It's particulate. Okay. And that's where we get words like particular. So when we're talking about Mars, we're talking about our mode of action, our mode of aggression, our mode of ambition. And so we're getting really particular about how we take our actions. We're refining our actions. I think we're going to see some sort of refined attempts at protests that are not quite so much just people out in the street, but a little more like focused, maybe even some sneak internet attacks or sneak information attacks, because Virgo is ruled by Mercury, so it's very much about data. It's very much about particular information. So I can see some information attacks coming along as well.
So I was asking, so you were talking about, going down in the ground, being grounded. And we literally used our bomber jets to bomb something in the ground, something that was so deep in the ground that only our stuff could do, right?
Because only we had the firepower to bust the bunker.
Right. So it makes perfect sense with the astrology that this is what's happening right now. So maybe I look for some earthquakes, or really I'm seeing like more of a what is that called? Sinkholes. Okay, I look for sinkholes. Because really below the surface are a lot of emotions. There's a lot of water running underneath there, whether it's good, bad, ugly, it doesn't matter. But underneath all that earth, and with that fire being in that earth, kind of, changing the way that it even just changing the way that it's grounded, right? It just kind of changes the way that it is. So a little bit of water under there doesn't hurt anything. But
also,
no, go ahead.
Also volcanoes, like Kilauea is erupting. You've got earth on fire, basically. It's molten earth.
I was gonna, yeah. So the Mars in Virgo aspect really has me thinking about stalkers. It's predator behavior. Okay. I mean, if I were to give Predator, the movie character, a sun sign, it would be a Virgo, maybe. But I feel like that particular, I mean, that is really stalkerish. It's really predatory. There are all sorts of skirmishes going on all over the place, right? We've got Ukraine with Russia. We have got the genocide in Gaza. That's not a war, it's a genocide. And now we've got this thing with Iran. We've got 3 separate things, and then probably a million other things that we don't know about that we've got going on. So our US military is strewn all over hell and back, all over the place. And this Mars and Virgo is very predatory. So I really wonder, like, if there's already someone who's, well, no doubt when we're in a war-like situation like this, unfortunately, the heads of state are the ones who are usually the ones that people go after, right? And I'm not calling for this to happen, but I mean, somebody is looking right now to take out any of those leaders of state, any of these people who are involved in these wars and these genocides. Like, there are always operatives there to take out the head person. That is the whole point of war, is to take out the leader, so it all will fall apart, right? And so with all of these people, with Putin, Netanyahu, Trump, Zelensky. I mean, I know for a fact that Zelensky's people have kept him alive through several attempted attacks on his life throughout this whole thing. And I mean, Putin has his own bunker because he knows he was going to start shit and take shit and start some more, and he just runs off. So, and Trump is wanting,
Scorpio rising, that one. Scorpio rising.
Trump wanted to immediately put a dome over us. And to me, that meant that he knew that we might be putting ourselves at risk for something. So the Mars in Virgo, it unfortunately has like single solitary, like suicide bomber kind of vibes to me. I mean, we already have that shit happening here with all of our guns and everything in America. And I'm not saying even it's not an American. I'm just saying, like, I feel like individuals are going to start acting in response to this, because I feel like the most radical people are against war. I think the most radical of people are against war. I mean, we've had our own soldiers kill themselves and set themselves on fire to protest a war. So, I feel like there's a whole lot going on in that Mars and Virgo. And then I thought about, first of all, I got to go check the information about the Brian Koberger trial, like Stalker Supreme. I got to go see if there's some more info that I can see on those details. And then that You show on Netflix, like, I've watched every season of that, and that's such a stalkerish vibe. And that's what it gives me. Like, Virgos are really charming and sweet and particular, and they're really particular about who they care to love and who they want to love and who they let into their circle. A lot
Very
Yes,
observant. Observant is a word.
right.
Like, I am observing things about you and I am taking notes so I know later
Exactly.
on. Yes.
Exactly. So,
Mhm.
and while saying that, what popped in my head was if you are having an important meeting, you need to take notes. Like, don't think that you don't need to pull out your phone or your tablet or whatever it is that you use, your MacBook. Take notes and or record. Anybody can record anyone saying anything. The difference is whether or not you want to try to use that in court, I believe. But I am all about, just making sure that, especially right now, contracts, that kind of thing, like if you're buying or selling something, people are going to see you coming from a mile away. They're going to know right down to the T what they can sell you. They'll sell you some oceanfront property in Arizona right now, Mars and Virgo. And they will push and push and push, and they will show you every little detail of why you should buy this thing. And then that buyer's remorse is going to come in because it's really just about the chase. It's about the push. It's about having accomplished something so quickly. It's about outmaneuvering and out manipulating somebody else for
Easy
what
money. Quick,
gain.
quick, quick. Yes.
Easily. Yes. Right. Yeah.
Instant satisfaction. Yeah.
Right. Right. So I do want to say this says tame the shit show, finding calm in the chaos. That's what I started off as my grounding point today. This was from my inner effing peace oracle deck just to change the subject a little bit. But yeah,
Mhm.
Mars and Virgo, very predatory. If that's you, if you're the nitpicker, like I've got to watch myself. I have a Venus in Virgo. So when there's a Virgo aspect, I have to kind of watch myself. So not, nitpicking, like if you're a parent, you've got kids, not needling them all the time about every single thing that you see around that needs to be done or hasn't been done, or the way that they're doing something, just like he'll start no shit, won't be no shit.
I'm just gonna leave that for later. Yeah.
Right. All right. I'm done talking about my Venus and Virgo stuffs.
Okay. All right. Well, uh, let's talk a little bit more about the good news that's coming up later in the week then, because I kind of like to go a little more positive, right? Where we are right now is a difficult place, and it doesn't mean that the difficult circumstances won't still be challenging for us later in the week. But with Wednesday, we really get a good opportunity to make a fresh new start on something big in our life. Where it comes to Jupiter being combined there with the sun and moon, it's really asking us to show up for that good fortune that we seek. Okay, so if you've put in an application for anything, if you are pursuing something, Jennifer and I have an application in for something that might be very seriously good for us. So, if you're waiting for something like that, this is the good time to really be putting your effort into it, putting your time and your thought and your attention on that thing that you want to see develop in a positive way. Coming up on Wednesday, the energy really shifts and it's a lot more positive. There will still be war. there will still be conflict. These things are not going to just solve themselves overnight. If one thing that 52 years on the planet has taught me, it is, if there's one thing that 52 years on the planet has taught me, it is that there will always be conflict. And part of that is, when we see what it is that we're unhappy with, when we see what it is that sort of destroys us and destroys others, then we know what we would like to do better. And Pluto is in Aquarius, and so we're observing, Virgo, what we would like to do better in the future so that we can realign our systems and make them work more smoothly. So, all of that is to say that the conflict is not for nothing. It's terrible, it's heart-wrenching, but there is good news coming up as well. Later this week, we have a couple of really fortunate trines, and one of them on Friday is Mercury trining Saturn. So today we have Sun squaring Saturn, and that's part of the real challenge that we're dealing with, because Saturn will put up a boundary or a limitation, and Saturn in Aries. So it's this war stuff. It's all this conflict, and Saturn in Aries just wants to go. It wants to be efficient. It can be it can get ahead of itself a little bit too much. It can be a little too heavy-handed. But so at the end of the week, we have Mercury making a trine to Saturn. And so it's really sort of communicating the needs. Why is Saturn acting the way it's acting? Why are we encountering these structural boundaries? Why are we encountering these rules and limitations that keep us from pursuing what we want to pursue? Mercury is there on Friday to say, this is why. It's obvious. Can't you see? So in your personal life, and hopefully also in our public lives, we'll be able to at least get some more information, a little bit better data. Mercury is in charge of that Mars in Virgo. Okay, Mars in Virgo is answering to Mercury right now. So it's going to be a little bit better communication. It might even be like a revelation, like, oh, here's what's really going on. Here's the information that we really needed so that we can handle this sort of struggle that we've been on, and plan our way through it. Sometimes, you hit that obstacle and you have to back up and go, whoa, wait, what is this? How big is it? How wide is it? How tall is it? How thick? Do I have to go around it, over it? Do I have to turn back? Can I go through it? I hear a lot of people say the only way out is through. And sometimes you get to a certain point where that's it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're right about that.
Yeah. So I like that good news for Friday, that Mercury trining Saturn. And Mercury is also going to make a trine to Neptune on Saturday. So maybe we can pull a card for that, because those trines are they're very gracious. They really bring some uplift to the conversation. And I think like an ability to plan, and an ability to, talk about our responsibilities and our ideals in the same conversation. Yes, Queen. Yes.
Three of Cups.
Mm-hmm.
Collaboration. So you wanted me to draw a card for
the trine energy with Mercury this week.
Yeah. Look at that. It's a trine energy all together with Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
right? So talk to your friends, your cohorts, your everybody, if you've been thinking that you needed to reach out, or that the answer lies within this person. Like, I don't know. I put off talking to a friend of mine who always responds really quickly to me, is always really kind and gracious, never thinks that I'm a bother to them. Mm-hmm. And I put off calling this person for like a month because I don't know, because I'm silly. So if that's you, this is the time, especially if it's time for you to get started doing something else. If there's somebody who holds the key, or someone who you really respect that you need to tell something to, now is the time to do it. And I love this card because on Saturday, we are going to the comedy club, and hopefully we're going with a friend of ours who, of course, I was thinking about when you were talking about all that energy on Friday. I started thinking about job stuff and whether or not, people were going to stay in their current positions, or like I feel like there's this whole I feel like there's some that Saturn struggle like with like bosses, like how much power and control bosses are thinking that they're having over somebody, or just like the impermeableness sometimes of a Saturn boss, like just that you're not going to get anything, like I know when I start anything new, or especially when I started a job back when I was working, I pushed my boss to the very limits of the rules. I always push to see how far I could go. And I'm not playing. Like, it's always a push, like, how far can I go? Can I be 5 minutes late? You're not going to say anything to me. 10 minutes late. If I don't call you and I'm 10 minutes late, like, what are the parameters here? And I feel like that is what's going to be revealed on Friday. Like, you're going to see something that was in your head or that you were thinking about, and you're either going to figure out like, yep, I was right about that. Or it's going to be like, oh, I was not right about that. Okay, I gotta get my shit together. You know what I mean? I feel like it's that kind of energy on Friday.
Definitely. Definitely. I see that seriousness, that boss energy definitely comes through with Saturn, and Mercury is just going to give you a discovery, like a dawning, an aha moment, like, oh, I understand what's going on with this structure here right now.
Right.
I want
Or
to say
maybe
that
somewhere. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just want to say this, some, like you were saying, some bosses can be kind of unforgiving or hard to interact with, impermeable, I think is what you said. And not just bosses, but like if you're working for a corporate entity, which many of us are working for a corporate entity now, it's not even that your boss has all that much power, right? There's just somebody who sort of supervises your work, but everything else is down to the rules of the company. And so that can feel a little bit impermeable and really impersonal. Like some of us are new to the workforce and some of us are not new to the workforce. I tend to think those of us who are not new to the workforce are a little more valuable as employees and should be treated as such. But it might be hard to get that kind of treatment or that kind of acknowledgement, that kind of accommodation, because maybe I know a lot about doing this job, but I have certain limitations in the way that I can apply myself. That might not exist in a certain kind of work environment. Like the
Right.
rules are just so hard and rigid, and there's no room for people to be themselves or to do things the way that they do them.
Right. Yeah. Well, I just see this card as being a really good opportunity to just kind of a Friday vibe is just to get together, have some drinks or whatever it is, just share your week with someone, just talk
Mhm.
about it.
Get
That
together
too.
with your friends who like you and know you and push you up. That's
Yes.
what that card always reads. Like, we rarely have like scads of friends who know us that well, but we usually have one or two at least friends who know us well enough that they love us and they just kind of know who we are and what we're capable of, and they're there to be a positive support for us.
Right. They're there to remind us of who our best self is.
Yes.
You know, they're really there to remind us who the hell we are, what we do, what we bring to the table.
Mhm.
It's a reminder that we are loved and supported, and we can do that ourselves. And, we're just that messenger, that falcon has stood out to me in the last couple of times that I've drawn it. And it's really about, listening to the information, not just, your intuition, but also the information that comes to you and put those things together.
Mhm.
It's going to take a little bit of a balance there, but
Little paying attention to the signs and symbols.
yeah, I think you come out ahead though. I think that we come out ahead no matter what. I love this card,
Yeah.
and it's about love. So like if you're looking for love, maybe it is that, you find somebody. um, I really see the love in this. So I think that maybe um there could be love in a workplace, unfortunately. I never ever think that that's a good idea, and I don't recommend it to anybody. Not that I've necessarily had any experiences, but I've been a boss of people, and it never ends well. Trust me, trust me. So I love this card.
Yeah, I
If
love that
you're,
card.
if, yeah, I
To
mean,
me, that's like enjoying the fruits of your labor, and it's also sort of like it's like a minor empress card. It's a little bit just like, I've got me and mine, and I'm just going to sit here and enjoy it,
right. I got money saved up.
right?
I got some money saved up, so no
I got
problem there.
I got food in the fridge. We're
Right.
stockpiled. We're ready to go for the weekend.
That sounds like us. We're like, oh, we've got 32 cents in our bank account. Do we need anything else? I'm just kidding. It's more like
That's
35
you. We
cents.
get to 32 cents and I'm like, we can't get anything else. You're like, no, we can.
No, we can still get more. No. So, yeah.
Lovely, lovely.
Yeah.
And then this week ends on a little more confusing note because Mercury next Sunday, a week from today, is going to be in opposition to Pluto. So, we had, uh, we're having some Pluto stuff come up we're having today this Mars in a semi opposition to Pluto. What you got there? I can't hear you. Say it again.
It says one word, meditate.
Oh, yes.
That
Be
was the
here
opposite
now.
sign.
Be here now. That's another good peace song as well.
Be
We'd
here
like
now.
to tune into the song Be Here Now by George Harrison.
Yes. Okay.
So that Mercury in opposition to Pluto, you know, after all this good stuff with Mercury, like we're going to have some revelations, we're going to have some discoveries, information is going to come out. We're going to understand some of the serious things that are happening a little bit better. We're going to understand the things that people are idealizing a little bit better. Then Mercury is going to be in opposition to Pluto. So it's going to be like, we see what's happening and we're not really happy with it. This feels out of balance, you know, this war, this conflict, all of this stuff that's being turned over and turned up, this stuff that makes us sad, that makes us sick, that makes us angry, that makes us feel confused. You know, obviously we're going to see that and we're going to think, I don't really like feeling this way. I don't like having to think about these things. I really wish I had more peace of mind from this stuff. Okay. And after a couple of days of like positive revelation and understanding coming out, we might actually be able to use our new understanding, our new way of looking at things, our new information to create a plan that brings balance, or to start to create a plan, at least for ourselves, that brings balance back to what we're observing in the world.
Yeah, I agree. I really do think this is about some creative balance. And, you know, sometimes our lives are just creatively balanced, you know, regardless of what that is. Maybe you're carpooling a bunch of kids this summer, or maybe you're doing a school of some sort or a camp of some sort, you know, just kind of really kind of sorting it out this week, especially with the Mars and Virgo. And I think the Mars and Virgo goes on until the middle of July or something, or into July for sure. So, and then we've got all sorts of stuff going on, you know, otherwise in the astrology, but we've chosen to, you know, stick to Mars and Saturn, these aspects that are notorious with war. And then there's Pluto aspect, right? Like, so for me, that's Pluto is always about death. It's about doing something differently. I'm hoping that we're choosing to do something differently now. I'm hoping that what we've done in Iran was a well thought out plan, and that we can find some diplomacy going forward and no more of this war stuff, you know?
Yeah.
We just can't have this. And I do look for there to be a lot of protests probably today. We'll probably hear about it again today. Mm-hmm. And, you know, if you're a stalker, you might get found. Like right now, if you're really trying to hide something, like with this Mars and Virgo aspect, like I think if you've had an inkling that this person is doing this to you, you might dig a little deeper and find it. Like, aha, I knew it. And it was like, it might be like this. And then Cancer season, intuition is high. Cancers are highly intuitive. So, you know, if you want to find something out and you do a little digging right now, you're going to figure it out. And I would say to turn that on you. But if there are some things that just don't make sense to you, it's time to, you know, really get to the bottom of that, really dig it up and dig it out and do something else with it right now. Because you've got this really sweet space here to really get down to the details, to really needle it out. And I feel like you have the resources to do that.
Yes, and absolutely. And what you're saying is reminding me also that with all of this Pluto action, don't forget that, you know, Pluto will see you not being where you're sort of expected to be by now, and it will move you over. It will just like, okay. So with all of this Pluto action, if you are resisting the changes, if you are resisting that personal evolution that you are being called to do, and listen, I am a resistor of personal evolution. I am I am notorious for not working on myself and not working on myself and trying and trying and trying. And even saying I'm working on myself and not really working on myself, okay? But if you are resisting the personal transformation that you are being called to do, to understand better, to be more well informed, or to be more sympathetic, to be more listening to what's going on instead of just interjecting opinions everywhere you go. Like we all have these little foibles that we use to keep ourselves from having to engage and make progress. But if you are resisting the progress that you know you are intended to be making, that's just going to make the change a lot more hard for you when it does come along, because the changes that you're going to go through are inevitable. So if you know you're being called to do a hard thing, to do introspection, to work on yourself, to level up in a way, if it's level up in an intellectual way, in a mental health kind of way, just in a broader scope of understanding what's going on in the world sort of way, if you're being called to do that, to be more informed, to understand better, then you really please go with it. Please go with it. Ask all the questions that occur to you. We have the internet and AI, as well as human beings that we can talk to about their experiences. So let's really be. I don't love the word proactive, but the word active comes to mind. Okay, let's be active in our pursuit of those transitions that we know are coming down the pike for us. Okay. I think that's important.
That is awesome. I like everything that you said there. Thank you. That was really well said.
Of course. Of course.
All right. So, I think we're nearing the end here, and I know are you good with that, Mel?
I'm good with that. I think we're in a good condition.
Okay. Yeah, we've been blabbing here to a person or two for an hour now. So, what I thought that I might do is, as a psychic, sometimes why am I getting all that feedback? As a psychic, sometimes I use the tarot cards just to kind of help with my psychic. Hey, Mel, can you mute your microphone?
Sure.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me still? All right. So sometimes what I do is I just do this strange, I call it strange, but a tarot reading where I just kind of read, I throw down a bunch of cards until I feel like it's the end of the journey there, and just say a couple of words when the cards hit. So I'm keeping this Mars and Virgo in my mind. Okay. I know that this Mars and Virgo to me it also feels pretty mean. It also feels pretty severe. It also feels, I mean, like, just to think that you're being watched is really chilling sometimes and kind of weird. Uh, Even if it's in a good way, it's still just a little awkward. I really value my privacy. So keeping that Mars and Virgo aspect in mind, I want to ask, where do we go from here? And then I'll just drop the cards and answer the question. But so I'm going to go ahead and end with our thank you so much for joining Rose Trone Astrology. My name is Jennifer Rose, and this is my wife up here, Mel Rose, astrologer. We are here in Kansas City, Missouri, and Mel will be either live or taped. We don't know. That's why it's good to subscribe. Monday, Wednesday, Friday to talk about some aspects or just something new. And if there's something that you would like to see on our channel, please don't hesitate to put that in the comments. Subscribe, like our video, share it with people. And we do appreciate the time that you took to be here. And right now, I'm just going to do a little tarot card reading to end everything. Okay. It's very important that you know that you revert back to all of the ways in which you share yourself, especially in an emotional way. It's also good to keep grounded in your own personal intuition, no matter what comes your way, no matter how much it seems severe, no matter how much you think that you can't possibly do it. And it's the thing that you have been knowing that you need to do. It's the thing that you know that you can't replace the most. But it's going to take you to where you want to be. This is who you want to be. This is who you are in life. These are the accomplishments that you want to make. So even though we get here, we go up against the rules, okay? And we feel like we've hit an impasse, nothing seems like it's going to make us happy. Things just keep coming at us and coming at us and coming at us. It's really important to remember that you are intuitive and that you can get back to the place that you were in your mind, in your heart, in your home, in your situation by just believing in yourself.